Hi guys, welcome back to the movie mini-series. Today, Aleia talked about the movie Rear Window, a classic thriller with an interesting twist. Stick around to hear a unique opinion on the horror genre. As always, please remember to follow us on Spotify, Anchor, and Apple Podcasts. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube for some exclusive content. Anyways, on to the show.
Classic Rear Window. My friends are here too. They're gonna say hi so that you know I'm not
alone. Hi.
Hello.
Okay, so basically when we came up with the idea to do this, the challenge was that we all had to think of a movie that the other three hadn't seen. And I was basically in between watching Rear Window for the first time because I'd always wanted to, or doing Disney's The Rookie because my friends and I have too much in common / I make them watch the things that I love because I love doing that to my friends. But yeah, I settled on this, and it ended up being a new favorite of mine. So, Rear Window is an Alfred Hitchcock film. It came out in 1954. It stars James Stewart, who, if you don't know who that is, it's George Bailey from It's a Wonderful Life, and also Grace Kelly, who was the main reason I watched this film. I've been kind of obsessed with her ever since my grandpa told me I was her lookalike when I was like 6-ish. I don't know. She's a real-life princess. How cool is that? The synopsis could become unnecessarily complicated if I try to explain it, so here it is from Google. The story of a recuperating news photographer who believes he has witnessed a murder. He's confined to a wheelchair after an accident, and he spends his time watching the occupants of neighboring apartments through a telephoto lens and binoculars, and becomes convinced that a murder has taken place. Okay, first of all, not as creepy as you would originally think, as far as the spying part. But the second part is definitely as creepy as you think. So, the first thing you need to understand about this film is the setting. So just imagine two apartment buildings whose fronts face two parallel streets, and the backs face each other with a courtyard in between. It's a really hot summer, so everywhere has their windows open, and this photographer, who is stuck in his apartment, can see everyone going about their lives from his back window, because all of their windows are just, like, flung open, so he can... It's like looking at a dollhouse, basically, at the apartment building across the way. The set is so delightfully 50s. It's like just fake enough that you know it can't be real, but you kind of love it anyway. Think of like White Christmas, like the war scenes and like the ski lodge, that kind of thing. And here's the kicker is, except for like less than a minute at the very end, the movie never leaves Jeffrey's room, that's the photographer, and you don't even notice because of how well paced and interesting it is. So, wow. I can't tell you everything, since it is a thriller mystery and I don't want to spoil things. But the basic idea is that one of the couples that he watches in the other apartment building, it's a husband and wife, and the wife is an invalid. Jeffries becomes convinced that the husband has killed his wife, and then this movie basically follows his investigation. Because one night she's there and the next morning she isn't. So, some subplots you need to be aware of is there's this really woke nurse. She absolutely rocked my world. She's like the insurance nurse. She comes every morning to rub some sort of thing on his back. And her monologues are actually amazing. I love them. And then Lisa Carol Fremont, who is played by Grace Kelly, and she's a socialite, is in a relationship with this guy, and she stops by a lot, and she becomes a part of the investigation, and their love story is a big subplot, which we'll get into in just a second. He also has a detective friend, Detective Doyle, who comes by lots, and I wrote to help, but he doesn't actually help. He's super annoying and doesn't believe anything he says. And while we're here, let's talk about Grace Kelly, well, not Grace Kelly, but Lisa and Jeffrey's relationship, because basically at the beginning there's this conversation that they have where, so he tells the nurse that he can't marry her because she's too perfect, like those are his words, and he tells her that he doesn't think that they should get married because she's a socialite and he's this traveling photographer who likes to rough it, and she could never last in his world, and she gets really upset. And so that's kind of like this underlying thing, because every even a little bit daring thing that she does during this movie sort of has this annoying double meaning, like she's trying to prove herself. Like he doesn't actually consider her seriously until she, like, climbs up a fire escape and shows that, like, she could rough it in the jungles of Africa with this man. And she, like, comes in and, like, cooks for him and, like, lays on his lap and, like, just, like, loves him. And he, like, does not pay much attention to her at all. I don't know if it's just, like, a 50s thing. You just have to view it from a different lens, but it was really annoying to me. There are lots of other smaller subplots going on in the neighbors' apartments, which keeps things really interesting. There's, like, this lonely lady and this newlywed couple and this model, and yeah. A couple of reasons that you should watch it. I'm almost done. Don't worry. The costuming is to die for, particularly on Grace Kelly. Some of her looks in this movie are considered her best of all time. They're just amazing. I mean, seriously, the cuts, colors, the materials, everything is impossibly classy. The big tulle skirts, and she wears these really smart suits, and there's this really over-the-top nightgown that she also wears. I've been obsessed with 50s fashion since I was little, so it just makes me really happy. In that vein, though, it sometimes feels like she's only there to wear clothes, so that was kind of annoying. Like, they literally just make outfits, like, make scenes where she has to change clothes so that she can wear a bunch, and it's like, what is she really here for, you know? And then, I know that this is the 50s, but even for a strong female character, her dialogue is kind of dumb sometimes, and I just really kind of resent Hitchcock for that. The dialogue in general, though, is really smart at some points. I really enjoyed it. The fact that it's a thriller without the goriness is one of the best reasons to watch it, I think. Just that you're constantly trying to figure out the clues. There's this sort of, like, unsteadiness that you have the whole time because there's, like, this feeling that something's lurking beneath the surface. A theme to note is that something so little could become so big, like his innocent spying eventually ends up almost getting him killed. Spoiler alert! You never really know until the end. There are so many subplots. The detective shoots down so many of his things, you know, checks things out for him and says, you know, it checks out, he didn't kill her. And other stories that you never really know until the end, and the ending's surprising. I would just say you have to watch it from a certain point of view and forgive it for being so 1950s. And yeah, just watch it for its time period. Watch it for its cinematography. Enjoy the mystery and the simplicity of the fact that he never even leaves his room and it's still that interesting. So, yeah. That's my review.
And we'll be back with some questions for Aleia after our ad break. And we're back.
Okay. I guess I'll start because I had a question about how the, like, mystery thriller ties into it. How would you compare it to modern day thrillers or mysteries, and what are some differences and similarities, I guess, between, like, how things have changed in the last 60 years?
I don't watch modern thrillers.
Okay.
I
don't either, so
tell you, but I would say that it just relies so much on from what I understand, modern ones rely more on just a lot of different dynamics and scenes to make it more creepy, maybe. But this one's just so simplistic. I think that that's what's to be appreciated about it. But I don't really feel like I can fully answer that because
yeah,
I don't really have
it
much
sounded
to
like
compare to.
closer to, like, a mystery novel than some of the, like, more
Yes.
modern thriller movies. Like, Jurassic World is considered a thriller, and that feels totally different.
What? No,
Yeah.
Right.
Jurassic
It's not
World is
considered
not a
action.
thriller.
It's considered a thriller. I looked it up, I think.
That is
Sure,
crazy.
it definitely has an Agatha Christie feel, now that you say that, because of all the different characters and things going on. She likes to do that. So.
Right. Okay.
Okay, I have a question now. I promise you this wasn't pre-planned. Okay, what? Maybe not what. How exactly would you describe? Like, I get it's a thriller. I get the setting. But, like, how would you describe his actions? Because I do want to know more about that. Because I feel like it's interesting how he's just in his room and, like, just creeping.
Yeah. So he's like
I don't know.
I know. Yeah. So something that you do need to understand is that he's in his room with, like, his leg in a cast when he's used to traveling around the world.
Oh.
So he's just, like, super duper insanely bored. And there's all these people just, like, living their lives right there in front of him. So he doesn't actually get out the lens and binoculars until, like, he starts suspecting that this guy killed his wife. but he just will sit there like watching people, and he knows that it's probably wrong. That's something that they definitely address. Like the nurse tells him, this is gonna get you into trouble. Lisa tells him like, this isn't okay, like you shouldn't be spying on people, but he just does it anyway. And I think that that's what's so interesting, is that he never would have gotten tied up in this like actually life-threatening situation if he hadn't been looking out the window.
Right.
But it was just like this very like innocent, it was almost a play, because they use the word peeping Tom a lot, the phrase peeping Tom a lot.
I hate that phrase so much.
I know you do.
That's
You've
terrible.
brought it up before, but it's almost kind of like a play on that. Like, let's see to what extreme we could take this. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen from being a nosy person? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, yeah, he's sitting there at his window in his wheelchair all day with nothing to do, and so he watches human beings.
That is a very good like element for a thriller, honestly.
I mean, it's just so simplistic.
You know, it is really simplistic, but I agree that I haven't seen it obviously, but I agree that if you do that right, that does sound really interesting
Right, there's
and
so
compelling.
much potential there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very unique idea.
Yeah, and once again, the fact that you never either the perspective or the actual scene never leaves the department even once until the very, very end.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, my
Who was
only
the
other
director,
question.
do you know?
Oh, Hitchcock.
Oh yeah.
I can answer that one, I guess.
Well, Claire.
I was gonna say my last question would be, where can we watch this movie? Because is it like Amazon Prime or?
Yeah, I
Netflix
got
or
it on
something?
Amazon Prime. It's only like $8 to buy it on Prime, so.
Okay.
And it's like $4 to
or
rent or something.
you could
Nope.
do it through
Nope.
different
No.
ways.
This is my episode, and I do not condone.
Not in this household.
I do not condone the pirating of films.
Yeah. Now I'm really into Grace Kelly
Or the
films, so
pirating of
I will
anything.
be binging those for the rest of quarantine.
Okay, well, I think that about wraps it up for this episode. I just want to thank you guys for listening. So, reminder, this is our movie mini series. This is going to be up on our YouTube, on our Spotify, on our Anchor, on our Apple Podcasts. Make sure you're subscribed on all of those platforms. And you can also contact us at pod.socialdistance@gmail.com. I don't think we really mentioned that enough here. We have an email inbox. We want your feedback. And also, if you want to be subscribed to some emails for some future content, we don't know exactly when these things are coming out, but it's going to be kind of like a blog, an episode blog or like a podcast blog that is coming out at some point. We'll make an official announcement when that does come out. But for now, just go like subscribe to everything and email us, because we do want to hear your thoughts.
We do.
Yes,
we
please
we
do.
really do. But yeah, so I think that's about it. Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate you.
Bye,
Have a
everyone.
great